at Newport Beach City Hall for JWA Town Hall, and I'm here talking with Julie Johnson.
Hi, I'm Julie Johnson. I'm with Citizens Against Airport Noise and Pollution. We're a community activist group, grassroots, representing many neighborhoods in Newport Beach against the noise and pollution of John Wayne Airport. This is a critical time in the process because the county is looking to expand the airport as well as the GA, which would cause our curfew to be non-existent and have jets and business jets and Ubers in the sky running 24/7. We're hoping that people will get involved today. We're so excited that 500 plus people are expected to attend today and show the supervisors who own the airport that we have had enough. We don't need any more expansion. We don't need any more jets. John Wayne Airport is big enough.
Can you tell us a little bit about your concerns about the General Aviation changes that are being proposed by the County of Orange?
Well, the settlement agreement controls how much commercial aviation, and the General Aviation improvement, quote unquote, plan seems to be just an increase of airplanes masquerading, okay, as it's private aviation, but they are in fact commercial size.
And why do you say that? What makes them, why do you think they're commercial planes masquerading as general aviation planes?
Oh, for one thing, you can buy a ticket on some of these planes and you don't know anybody else on the plane. It's not like a company plane, and fly to many places in the United States. So it's like an Uber in the sky. And then another thing is we do not have control over the general aviation jets that will come out of John Wayne as to how much noise they make, and they can fly all night. And it's just a ruse to get around the existing settlement agreement.
My concern on this agreement and others is that we would be engaging in a long-term contract with people that we don't have close control over, and they're a profit-oriented organization. I have nothing against profits. I'm totally for capitalist societies, but I also live under the airport flight path. And the larger the aircraft you bring in, which bring in the most profit, I'm fairly sure, to the operators, they are nearly as noisy, not quite as noisy, but nearly as noisy as commercial aircraft. And they have to fly the FAA departure procedures for large aircraft versus general aviation, which can fan out left or right and go across different neighborhoods. They're much more obtrusive from a noise standpoint and pollution standpoint. So I'm very concerned that this has to be well thought through. And my view is the environmental impact, draft environmental impact report did not adequately cover the impacts of either noise or pollution based on the alternatives that could occur over this 10 to 12 year period. So it's just a long time. And for that, we need to have tighter controls. We need to reissue parts of that document and have more input.
So residents here today are concerned about the general aviation proposal, and I know that you might have a different point of view on that. What do you think the differences are, the real differences are between what residents want and what a company like ACI wants?
Yeah, actually I think when all the facts get laid out and everyone has a good discussion, there's a right size to it. And I give you both extremes. If I saw in the prior interview, if you build it, they will come. So if you had 1 million square feet of hangar, that would create more airplanes, and that would create more traffic. If you had 0 square feet of hangar and facilities, ironically, that also creates more traffic. So both extremes generate an abundance of traffic. Almost, what's the word? A disproportionate amount of traffic that doesn't have to be there. You want to find the right size, the in-between. The pendulum both ways is wrong.
And can you talk about some of the impacts on some of the surrounding communities like Costa Mesa, Tustin, etc.?
Sure, all these flight paths since NextGen and the GA issues, they're impacting your life even if you don't live under the direct flight path. And that's why it's so crucial. People are living in a false sense of security that think they live in Crystal Cove or Newport Coast or wherever. They don't hear the planes, but you're breathing in all the pollution, and your kids are going to school under the flight path.
I've heard that they want to move out the small mom and pop prop planes and move in these much larger, louder commercial jets. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. The thing is, one of the ways they're trying to sell this, which is really really very sad, is they are saying if you're in Newport Beach, you will have many fewer private aviation flying over your head. And that's true. There will be fewer because they're removing all the mom and pops and bringing in the larger private jets, some of which, of course, make more noise than our commercial flights.
Well, they're trying to build more terminals to house more business jets, more planes that are really commercial under the guise of general aviation. So the main point is you want to protect your curfew 24/7, and by voting for this, they add in more international, more terminals, and we want this to stop. We've had enough. We can't take any more noise and pollution. We have all our children going to school under the flight path, and the county has not done one environmental study to protect us. It's about time they did something.
And what do you think the worst impact, potential impact from these changes could be?
Well, everyone's aware that general aviation can fly nights, and that's one of the concerns. And we've seen Orange County, South Orange County, and other areas really grow in population, and there were companies looking to move headquarters. If you're aware, last year, I'm not going to mention the company name, but a very large one. Had that occurred, one of my big fears, and a different one could occur at some point in the future, they would have a fleet of corporate aircraft. And those aircraft are flying global, not just North America or the United States. My concern, the worst case scenario would be we would have the infrastructure that would support that kind of company looking at this from a positive standpoint as a regional headquarters or a high activity. And they could fly nights. As long as they're not charging revenue passengers on a scheduled basis, they can fly 24 hours. And if you want to go to Japan or somewhere, I know in LAX they have many Asia flights that leave at midnight, for instance. So that's a worst case scenario, that we would get these kind of aircraft with that kind of range into John Wayne. Would they require other infrastructure changes, such as improvements that are not in the EIR? Probably, but this is a first step. And you need to work these things out at the first step, not the fourth step. So that's my concern.
It's obvious to me that there is a need on the part of the community to be able to continue to communicate with the council, the Board of Supervisors, regarding the airport, and just, I think it all boils down to quality of life issues for people in this city. We've suffered as you well know, the blight of the airport for 30 years here in Newport Beach, and the idea of increased flights just does not rest well with people. And the other thing is that people are they're becoming a lot more cognizant of the fact that airplanes fly overhead, and that they're having a direct effect on health issues, you know, pollution and health issues, and people are becoming much more aware of that and concerned about it, and rightly so.
What's your general takeaway from this event, and what do you think the people are saying to you?
Well, I don't know that they're saying it to me, but people in the flight path obviously have a lot of concerns. I don't blame them. Just noisy airplanes flying over their houses, all the things that go with it. The General Aviation Improvement Plan is not designed to try to bring more traffic to John Wayne Airport. It's trying to react to the traffic that is already coming.
I know that a lot of people, when they hear us complain about the airport noise and pollution.
Us meaning folks from Newport Beach?
Folks from Newport Beach, yes. They think, well, the airport's been there for so many decades. You knew that when you moved in. Why did you move in knowing that? Is that a valid complaint?
You know, I compare that to, I'm a retired elementary school principal, and people would buy property that butts up next to the playground at the school I was principal at, and after being there for 2 weeks, they'd call my office and start complaining about the noise on the playground, number one, and balls coming over their fence, and I would want to say to them, well, why did you buy knowing that you butted up right next to a school playground, do you honestly expect things to change? And I kind of have the same response to people that buy here in Newport Beach. When you bought, especially if you are under the flight path, you knew that. Did you?
But aren't there differences between the way the flight paths were before and the way the flight paths have changed in the last couple of years?
Absolutely, yeah, and we're trying to do something about it. We are trying to do something about it.
You know, people live where they want to live, don't they? You know, sometimes you're next to a dairy farm, sometimes you're next to a freeway. It doesn't mean you don't want to live there, right? And you can't take that away from them. The Back Bay is beautiful.
Well, there have been changes to the FAA's Next Gen Metroplex project. Can you talk about what those changes have meant to residents living under the flight path?
So Next Gen is simply the idea of going from a land-based navigation system to a satellite-based navigation system. And part of that is more precise equipment. And so what used to be a dispersed departure path, because of the increased sensitivity and the increased, what do I want to say, ability to fly more precisely, you see a narrowing of that band. And so the folks that live right under that are more impacted, and the folks that were previously on the fringe are less impacted.
How did you feel about today's town hall?
You know, people have a lot of things to say, and then, you know what, I'm glad that I was here and listening to their concerns. So this is very important because the proposal just came out, and we are ready to looking at the EIR report is coming out. So we have to really study it, and we have to look at it, that, you know, how many we're gonna have and stuff. So right before we do that meeting, and I hear all these people that, you know, what they want us to do. So this is a good direction.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the pollution impacts that you're concerned about?
Yes, there's ultra-fine particulates, and they go directly into bloodstream, and they're mostly for children. It's the worst. And this is so important, and people need to get involved. We have health studies here today. If you email us at info@caanp.com, we can give you all the information you need to know. But Newport, Costa Mesa, and the communities need to wake up and get involved. There's 10 miles that these ultrafine particulates can travel, and that's why it's so significant. Even if you don't live under the flight path, you need to be aware and you need to get involved now.